Welcome to the Brew Chronicles, where it's all about homebrew, beer, and banter. I'm Shari, and each week we chat with brewers, beer lovers, and a few characters who just love a good pint and a laugh. This week's episode is proudly sponsored by Crafted Taste Brewing Supplies, keeping your next brew as fresh as they come. So pour a pint or crack a can, and let's get started. All right, welcome to this week's episode of the Brew Crew Chronicles. I have brought you an absolutely delicious guest. I might make you blush because I have so much wonderful things to say about Beck. Beck owns Curious Craft. She's also a home brewer, and we're basically going to talk all things home brewing, bridging the gap between home brewing and craft beer, and I guess what it's like for us in the industry. And yeah, so I guess we'll start off with what we've cracked. I'll let you go first.
I've cracked. I bought one in from home. As you can see, I'm sitting in the shop, but I chose to bring one of my home brews in, which is a Citra Nelson hoppy pill. So it's about 3 weeks old. Lost a bit of head retention with the it's pretty hot down here today. My glass is a bit too hot, but yeah, something simple.
Yeah, nice. And then I've cracked into my Nectron XPA. Yeah, also no head. I don't think that she's quite fully carbonated yet. But I feel like for the time of day that we're drinking, like it's just like a nice, easy drinking beer. I'm inclined to stay on the home brewing side, but I think they're going to kind of mesh together. So I'll move over to, I guess, beer culture and the community side of things, and I guess the connection between the local beer scene and home brewers. So I think we've kind of, it's a nice segue. Yep. How important is it for you to support small independent breweries?
That's the number one thing. It's the thing I get the biggest buzz out of, have always gotten the biggest buzz out of. One, spend money where you live. And two, a lot of breweries maintain support of small breweries is really important, whether they're local to you or not. Because, craft beer doing that, and that's probably slowing off now, but 2-3 years ago, it was going through a massive boom, as we know, or 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's been going for a while. But, a lot of majors picked up small breweries and put them, and we're talking about places like Uncle Dan's and other, bottle shops, and took on these beers. And, whilst it gave them brief support in volume, it didn't, these things never last. So, spending money with them and choosing to go into breweries or into places like this is really important. And the other bonus of supporting local is getting to share their stories. A lot of breweries don't have the capacity to have reps on the road. So when you can deal with them one-on-one, you get to tell their story for them. Not necessarily, I wouldn't call myself a rep for them, but you can be their champion so they don't get to have that chat to everybody. So, yeah, that is the biggest buzz, and it's really important to me that we do that here.
And so I think because you are such an advocate for our independence, and I think, when I did a little short form video thanking you for your merch and highlighted the breweries that you had sent me in those cans. Spangled Drongo.
Spangled Drongo, yeah.
Right?
You got it right, yeah.
And I'd never heard of them. And then once I actually looked into them, I was like, fuck, what you are doing is so cool. And it's like, if we can push those stories out, do you find that consumers, especially in your store, care about this, or they don't know what to care about, and it's through you then educating them, they're like, actually, do you know what, this is now on my radar, I need to be conscious?
Oh, definitely. It's something, it's an important consideration when talking to people. Some people will walk in the door and immediately ask me what's local. And even people that live here that are only just starting to drink craft beer, and it could be any age of customer. So that, that can be initiated by the customer, but sometimes, and that's where it's important to have this one-on-one chat with people. I like to get to know what people like, and, because then they've got faith in me that they come in, next time they come in, And I tell people, be honest with me what you think of these things, because if you think it's shit, I'll point you somewhere else. But particularly local breweries and telling their story, like Spangled Drongo, and I'll just try and tell you real quick. I don't know if I told you this or we covered it, but actually, no, I think you did in your small video in the short. Those guys, I got my first order from Spangled Drongo the week before the 22 floods hit. So it was their first order, my first order. We both lost everything as businesses, and they just went into flood recovery mode. So for them to have come out, launched as hard as they have, be making the quality of beer that they have is so incredibly impressive. And that's the other side of, getting back to what you were saying, that's the other side of telling customers the background of these people, and they're not just putting beer out to make money. They've got an ethos behind what they do. Yeah.
That's made me even more, like, I guess, I wasn't aware, and like, you don't know what you don't know. And it was only kind of once I started looking at craft beer and, finding out things like what an independent brewery is. I'm really lucky that I've got Buddy Brewing, actually a short walk, and I do that walk
Too
very
short.
regularly. And I am just so in love with the family that owns it. And it was kind of that in the last 12 months and forming that relationship with them, that made me go, hang on, shit, like, what is all this about? And most breweries do have a story, and they just don't have the platform, I guess, to share that. And I think, like, it's one thing to make banging beer, and I think that is always like the utmost of importance. But I think we as consumers, and certainly, both you and I have, while not very big platforms, online, we still have a platform, and certainly you in store, educating people, because once you know, you can't unknow it.
That's it. That's great.
What does the local beer scene in Lismore look like? Like, is craft beer a big thing? Is it just the commercial faves, or?
It's a bit of a look. In terms, we do have a local brewery called Two Mates in South Lismore. That's the only brewery based in Lismore. But so in terms of the craft scene, we've got one. Lismore's still, whilst it's vast, it's still a small town, and we're still recovering from the flood. But so in terms of the scene, I'm kind of the only bottle shop in town, apart from maybe some buying group bottle shops that they'll take a chance on a brewery, that you will find this kind of stuff. If you go out, some of the local restaurants will maybe take package stock. So you might get something funky if you go or new to the restaurants. The taps are dominated, as we know, walk into any tap, bowling club, whatever, sports club, still dominated by the big guys. But we have got one hotel. They've actually owned Good Folk Brewing down in Newcastle, and they own a pub here. So that's one pub where you'll get pretty good choice. So in terms of what's available, it's not strong. But in terms of lovers and people that really want to get into craft beer, the people are here. They desperately want it. And we are surrounded, only got to go half an hour, 45 minutes in an arc, and you'll hit another 3 breweries.
Yeah. Yeah, they're becoming a real big thing, aren't they?
Yeah. Only problem is, in a regional area and in a small town, you've got to figure out who's driving home because there's no public transport.
No Ubers.
No.
And so what goes into choosing what beers are in the fridges at Curious Craft?
So probably what we're talking about before, informed by breweries I have a relationship with or I can deal directly with, because that's my preference. Like I was saying, if they're not local, I love to know people's stories, and that's attractive, and that's what my customers love to come in and hear. So that's part of it. You can't ignore hype beers. There's beers in the fridge because, a lot of my customers say, well, Becky told me that was your favourite last week. I was like, well, yeah, this is a favourite too. But there are a lot of beers that I have. That was last week. There are lots of hype beers, and we don't need to, guess what they are. It's stuff like, and this is not me singling anyone out in particular, but people like Range Mountain Culture, that are releasing 4 to 5 beers a week or one drop you've got to have that in your range, because as beer consumers, so many of us are either untapped, and they've got to check in there, can't miss checking out in that beer, or have FOMO. So you can't not have those beers. So the range is largely dictated by that as well. Because, probably about 60 to 70% of my range are limited beers, because that keeps people coming
Yeah,
in.
right.
Yeah.
And so from what I take from that is, like, I guess trends
Oh,
and
for sure.
I guess culture and that's the biggest driving factor to what's
Trends.
there.
Yeah, craft beer is so hype driven. And I feel for breweries that way. They could be banging out, like we're both drinking a great XPA or a great lager, and no one really wants to drink it because they've just done a triple dry hopped imperial IPA or something.
Yeah, and I find that's a real shame. And, like, off camera, we did talk about this. I feel like there's a large amount of us who do get, like, swept up with the hype.
Yeah.
But as I said to you, the more I've got swept up, and, like, I'm certainly being swept up, you've seen some of the stuff that Jess and I crack, the more I've come back to the humble beer. And I never thought that I would be the person that's like, I want to drink beer that tastes like beer.
Yeah.
And I guess it's almost like an evolution through the craft.
Definitely.
And then, as I said, if I'm popping around to breweries, being able to get like a tasting paddle and having, a small glass, like that is great. But for me nowadays, the idea of buying like a 440 ml can, it's almost like a deterrent in some cases, because like I can't have it all. I'm not having people around to share it with.
Sorry, a lot of these big cans are high ABV beers too. So depending on, because it's never a good idea when you've had a couple, and whether it's a couple of or a few XPAs, and you go to the fridge and you go, oh, there's that triple IPA. I might try that now. After you've had a few. But it can be. The size definitely can be a deterrent, which is, hype. It is definitely coming, and it is a cycle. So hype will always be there, and those trends, every brewery as a commercial decision will need to chase those hype beers. But I think we're coming back around as a collective customer base to old school beers.
And so how do you balance, I guess, business with your passion and what you're interested in, plus trends? Because, at the end of the day, trends are one thing, but those beers have to move as well. Like, you can't be stuck with a whole lot of stock.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. It's a difficult decision to make. Sometimes it's a costly decision to make, because I tend to take low volumes. We're a really small shop. I take low volumes of limiteds because I like them to move. I also like having really fresh beer, so for customers. So making that decision to take less and not being able to take advantage of buying discounts is a tricky thing to balance. And particularly with the cost of business at the minute, freight's not cheap. It's not cheap for breweries either. So, that's a difficult balance. We have a rotating core range of beers that I like to think are just winners all around. So, but with that said, just when you think you've got your finger on what people are buying at the minute, it changes. My West Coast fridge, it's like, hooray, people are digging West Coast again. All right, I'm going to have like 6 to 8 different West Coasts in small format cans, and then people just stop buying them. So, yeah, it's a juggle.
That's really challenging.
It's really challenging. For small, in bigger stores, you can kind of take that punt and run on lower margins. This is largely a one-woman show. It's not in the background, but you've got to try and make your margin and survive in this kind of market. So balancing range is really hard.
And then so we'll jump over into the brewy style of talk and the fun. And I think that's, while I love craft beer, I really love the brewing side of things too. You are stairs and stairs ahead of me, and I said this morning, you are who I want to grow up to be. But I'm not sure if on the brewing side I want to go that far. Obviously,
Yeah,
I have the option available to me, and I can
yeah,
understand why people do it.
yeah,
I really aim to be that person that people who are starting out or just want to, brew simple beer, want to be that person for
yeah.
people to check in with. You do amazing things. So we'll start with, what does your homebrew setup look like these days?
Too many toys. Because again, you would have this. I mean, you're what I actually really like about you is you just like, no, this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm brewing, and I'm not gonna go outside of that. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because over the years I bought too much gear that I thought I had to have. I thought I had to have massive stainless steel, and look, whilst I still use some of it, the thing is having a wholesale account with these places, this makes it very easy for you to add new toys. So it's like anyway. So what do I have at home? I have. I'm currently using wrapped firm fridge, which has changed
Oh yeah.
the way I brew. The quick version is where we are. We're in a really humid environment and climate here. I live in a really old house. And our downstairs area, there's basically no airflow. So I do have a glycol chiller, and I have got jacketed fermenters, stainless fermenters. But in certain times of the year, they become really messy to use because condensation becomes a drama. And condensation and mold, which is the last thing you want in your brewery. So I am using Firmzillas. I'm currently
I
down.
love them.
They're just so easy. I remember being so hesitant to get one, and I think it took me I reckon it was the first go. I went, this is so easy, particularly with pressure and transferring under pressure, low dough, oxygen, all that stuff, and not being worried about going away for the weekend. I know that you can do things like with Inkbirds, and you can check into portals with Inkbirds, and whatever it is that you run, wireless control, temperature control is amazing. So I have a wrap fridge. I have a G40 and a G70. G70 for big double batches. What else? Yeah, that's the basic kit. I brew under my house. I've got the ability to brew here, but I do most of my brewing at home. We do some test brews because it's pretty cool temperature in the shop. Sometimes I'll throw something in an all rounder here so people can try it. But at home, yeah, I fell in love with Grainfather system. Yeah, I think I got one of the first G30s, so I'm now under G40 and G70.
Yeah, nice upgrade. And I think it speaks volumes for the hobby. Like once you start, it is like a drug. And you just keep going and going and going. And sometimes we can take it too far, which is why I say all the time to people, you don't need fancy shit. And then I feel like a bit of a hypocrite because I am using things like the Firmzillas, and I run 2 gnarly kegerators, but I still just want to be like, yeah, no, you don't have to go and spend, $2,500 on Grainfather's newer system to make cool beer.
And I know that you would have talked about this with other people and other homebrew channels that we love. And selling a bit of brew gear here that I do, it's, if I had my time again, temperature control would have changed the way I brewed. It would have kept me brewing past that break. And, people see some of my social media and say to me, Beck, so what gear are you running? I want to get the same thing. It's like, no, just go simple, because one, you might not stay in love with it and you haven't done your ass on gear. Because if you've seen the second-hand market on brew gear at the minute, there's so many people dumping out of it. Dumping out of it. So, go simple. You don't need all the toys.
And I think as well for me, it's adding a level of complexity to brewing for new brewers. And there's enough people showing the complex side. And I have a real gripe sometimes where I'm watching certain things or I see certain things and I'm like, far out, you're making it seem so much more difficult. And I guess there's at times some of the content that I put out people I guess don't love, and they're like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And it's like, if I, as a person who had never brewed, is watching that stuff, I'd just be like, fuck it, it's too hard.
Yes. You're kind of missing the point of my videos. Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And it's like, hey, like, let's have something for everyone. But also, like, if you're a new brewer, don't overcomplicate it, because that is the fastest way for you to hate everything.
Yes, so true. So true. Yep. One mistake. I've got a dear mate of mine who I'm sure will watch this. He knows who he is. Yeah. Just don't overthink it to start. If you just get those basic things. Tipper work kit, tipper tin, get the chlorine out of your water, sanitation and temperature control, and you're going to make decent, drinkable, relatively cheap beer.
Yeah, that's right. And like the thing is if you don't nail it first go, like there's still some, like there's one on Tap of Crafted Taste at the moment that I tried last week, and I said to Jessie, this tastes like shit. Like this. I have a feeling that they brewed with dry ingredients, and when I've had it in the past, I've tried it with liquid malt, and I think it's just one of those beers that you need extra maltiness. It's a red IPA, so I guess using the dry stuff has really dried it out, and just personally I just didn't like it, and like call it out for what it is. There's some people that would like it, but it's like also okay to have stuff that necessarily you're not happy with, or that does fuck up, or like that's part of brewing. It's like part of baking or cooking. We all make stuff that tastes like absolute shit sometimes.
Yes, we do. I've got one on tap at the minute. I made it an IPA, and it's okay. I have overbittered it to the shit house, and I love bitter things, but I've gone too far. And that's after brewing for, everyone that I know that has been brewing a really long time that still happens. So just hang tough, make simple choices to start, and then fall further down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
And so I think this is a really good time to highlight that you're doing Rockstar Brewing's brewing course for home brewers. So I've seen it around. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? That is really interesting, and it's a good way for home brewers to, I guess, up their game.
Yeah, definitely. So Hendo's had, for those that Steve Henderson, nickname Hendo, has been around a long time as a professional brewery consultant, ex-brewer. For those that don't know his backstory, there is content on YouTube that you can find, and even though it's brewer-centric, there's still some stuff you can pick up as home brewers. So anyway, I saw the opportunity. It's 15 places on this course, 8-week course. The reason I chose to do it is, again, we're getting back to these simple beers that I really like to drink and really like to make. I want to make them repeatable, and make them the best that they can be, because they're the things I like to have on tap. Again, I've got as much choice as I could possibly want in the fridges behind me, but to have simple beers or beers that I really like that I can go to time and time again. So that was one reason. My brain is chaotic most of the time, and I need process to slow my brain down. So learning things like this is really good for my brain. And whether I might use all this knowledge or not, I don't know, but it's really, really beneficial. So we're covering things like running a perfect brew day, how to write recipes without Brewfather or Beersmith, how to make Instagram-worthy beers, and that might sound silly, but it's about process and make, your beers dropped out, how to make your beer look pretty. Like I said, I love pretty beers, so that kind of appeals to me. And running the perfect brew day. So it looks intimidating. If anyone sees it come up, if it looks intimidating, don't be intimidated. Hendo is extremely patient. It's an online thing. We sit down once a week and go through the course module. So I highly recommend it for homebrewers that just want to replicate their beers or looking at going into professional Brewing. Me, I'm also looking at collaborating with a local brewery to make a beer, so I want to make sure my recipes are dialed in. Not sure yet.
How exciting! That's actually on my list of questions. Yeah. So the question is, if you could collaborate on a beer with anyone, who would it be and what style? Are we allowed to talk about it, or is it
Yeah.
secret squirrel?
Look, it's a very loose conversation. There's two local breweries in particular that I would love to do a beer with for different reasons. 7 Mile Brewing in Ballina. We're talking about before what kind of my beers turn my craft beer brain on. When local craft beer scene came along, their West Coast IPA just flipped my lid. And Matt's an incredibly good IPA brewer. And if I have a dream collab, it would be with Matt on some kind of IPA. Or Common People Brewing in Bangalore, another fantastic brewery. And with them, I would love to make a lager, like a Vienna lager, a red lager or something like that, a modern take on a Vienna lager. One of them doesn't know about it, the other one does. So
who knows, we might just like sneak in a little thing and just like send it off to them, like, if you're ever looking.
Oh, look, and it's one of those things too, for people that are watching this, that don't know the ins and outs of that, you've kind of got to wait on tank space for breweries, because beers are scheduled so far out, and depending on the size of their system, I'm not going to go out and do a collab on a 10,000 litre beer. So,
and it's a lot, like a big jump from the G70 to
exactly. Yeah, so it's something that we could throw on in a small batch. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I actually have heaps to talk about, but I'm mindful that people don't particularly want to just hear us harp on and harp on.
And that's my fault. Talking to work.
I just have so much stuff to say, but I'm also, I am really passionate about being a woman in this space. And I think that's why I've gravitated to you so much. I'm just mindful that there's majority of my audience on every single platform. I range between 90 to 95% men. So they don't want to hear, while I would not call myself a feminist, but my little femme rant.
It's hard because you want to talk about being a woman, exactly what you said. You want to talk about being a woman and taking up space in the beer industry without turning blokes off. And I know all those lovely fellows out there that are watching, this can be, you're kind of waiting for it. You're waiting for the comment section. But it is really important. That's why I really wanted to do this with you because, we brew differently and from different parts of brewing and lifestyle. I love the fact that you're doing what you're doing and how you're doing it. I just think it's incredibly approachable and that you're just continuing to do all that content. And it's exciting. It's exciting, Matt.
Yeah, like there's so much stigma. And like I think I say in almost every episode, we have to destigmatize this. And, I get comments from the population that you would typically believe is your typical home brewer. And I'm like, that's great, Barry. But you've got about 15 years left in you. If you aren't open to people like me and the younger people coming through, say you could fucking buy a home brewing, mate.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you'll be dead. So it doesn't matter. But I'm like, come on.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's so true. And homebrew is changing, and I'm sure you've got your local brew club. We've got a brew club here, and the changing face. We've got everyone from some of the older guys that do still nothing but tins and bits and kits and bits that will still grumble at some of the beers that the guys bring. But it's don't miss the opportunity to try really great beers because you're just set and this is the only people that can talk about making beer and this is the only kind of beer that they can make.
Yeah, it's not, I think, even just from a female's perspective. I see, I guess, a bit of shade sometimes thrown to the younger demographic or, there's lots of variations.
Sure.
And like if I push one thing apart from like, hey, everyone should just make and drink beer. That's like my number one. But it's like, don't cut someone off at the knees because, you know, how many guys who are, you know, in their, say, early 20s and they're coming in, you know, we see them like trying to brew mead or, you know, something different. Don't cut them off at the knees, because that's how so many brewers start. And they could one day be taking out gold medals for their brewery's beer that they've brewed. But if you decide to be an asshole and being like, you don't know nothing, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because this stuff actually.
I'm very passionate.
Yeah, no, me too. Can anyone tell looking at us talking about this? No, me too. Because and the amount of young guys that I'm getting. Have you got any mead? Have you got any mead? It's almost like the scratching. It's like that mead. You got any meme? It's you got any mead? In some brew clubs, or if they were putting this online, and I don't mean to diss people in brew clubs that are of a certain generation. Like I said, come and have a look at the 25, 30 blokes that we get here. Everyone's got their own opinion, but that stuff sticks with you and it discourages you. If someone's just having a crack at you going, well, what are you making nut lolly water for? Or, you know, I've got people that just want to brew seltzers. You know, that's what they want to drink. Oh, why would you want to do that, lolly water? You know, I don't know. And that it's really important. You're right. It's not just women. It's people looking to get into something new. Yeah, it doesn't have to.
Different. You know, like if we can all just be accepting and not be judgmental cunts.
Exactly. Can we get that on a t-shirt?
Well, we can do a Curious Craft Brew Crew merch collab.
Yeah, exactly. Curious. Don't be a cunt on the back.
Awesome. So I'm going to basically list all of your socials in the comment or the description section of this. Can people purchase beer from you and ship it? I think I know the answer to this, but I just wanted to hear it from you.
No, that's absolutely fine. You can. We don't have a web store set up, but if you follow our socials, and like I said, you'll all of those will get linked. There's something that you got your eye on. Like I do it for people that are out of town, you know, and even with some breweries, we're the closest north or south for some beers. So if it's something you can't get your hands on locally, just ring the shop, message me. I will get it freighted to you. We can just get it sent to you on Fastway. So if there's something you're chasing that you've seen on our social media, absolutely we can do something.
Yeah, love it. Awesome. Is there any final words or anything that you want to put in?
No, apart from the mutual appreciation thing that we've got going on, again, thank you for doing all these interviews that you're doing, because it's my morning ritual is sitting down with a coffee and seeing what new brew videos are up on YouTube after I've taken the dog for a walk. So seeing all the great content you're putting out, and I'm sure everyone that's watching is thinking the same thing. And I just want to say that, reinforce that thing again, just give brewing a go. Give craft beer a go. It's not all, like we're talking about lolly water. You like lagers? Come in and talk to me. I love lagers. Let me find you something better than you'll be drinking off tap that's made with a shit ton of sugar. Come and see me. Because as much as I'm a craft beer nerd, I'm really also all about it feeling open to people that want to come in and say, well, I just drink Great Northern, or this is what I drink. Don't feel like you can't come in and have a chat. As much as I love it and love getting into nerdy stuff, doesn't mean that there's not something we can find you.
And I know I take the piss at like digging at the 4X and Great Northern Brewers.
Yeah,
it's really just rage bait, to be quite honest. But like, it's also true. You know, like accepting for everyone, give it a go. And if you don't like it, that's fucking cool, mate.
Yeah. That brewery is not shit. They just make beer that you don't like. And I challenge anyone out there, if you can't get your hands on Spangled Drongo, if you can, try their mid-strength lager. Yes, it says organic. Don't be put off by that. It's not a hippie beer. It would challenge some of the best traditional Australian lagers you've ever had. And it won't give you a heart attack.
That is the perfect way for us to end that. And I'm also I'll put a link to them as well, because once again, they are doing really fucking cool things. Awesome. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers. Oh, you're empty. I'm not.
I'm drinking too. It's a little glass.